It's the ultimate show of dominance. The US aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln, warships, fighter jets, and bombers have been carrying out military exercises near Iran's coast for the past week. And US President Donald Trump has warned Tehran not to react.
I think Iran would be making a very big mistake if they did anything. If they do something, it'll be met with great force, but we have no indication that they will.
The increased US military presence comes after attacks on ships in the region. Last week, 4 commercial vessels, including 2 Saudi oil tankers, were sabotaged near Fujairah port in the United Arab Emirates. That's prompted marine insurance firms to raise risk premiums they charge on ships operating in the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Oman. And the US Federal Aviation Authority has warned that commercial airlines flying in the area could experience disruptions in their navigation and communications equipment or even be misidentified as combat planes. Gulf airspace is already limited because of conflicts in Syria and Iraq, as well as the Saudi-led blockade of Qatar. Any more restrictions could stretch flight times, drive up costs, and even endanger the lives of travelers. US allies are calling on Iranian officials to defuse the standoff with Washington.
I would say to the Iranians, do not underestimate the resolve on the US side in this situation. They are not seeking a conflict. They don't want a war with Iran, but if American interests are attacked, they will retaliate, and that is something that the Iranians need to think about very, very carefully.
But Tehran remains defiant. It's ramping up uranium enrichment and has previously threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices have been rising since Washington backed out of the 2015 nuclear deal and slapped Iran with new sanctions. If hostilities intensify, the economic fallout could be even more severe. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
And Mobin joins me now in the studio for more on this. Hi Mobin. Iran has accused the US of waging an economic war against it. What do you think of that characterization? Is there any basis for it?
Well, in fact, many US officials have also used similar words. Former National Security Advisor John Hanna calling it exactly that. David Petraeus saying that the economy is in a tailspin thanks to US policies. And then let's look at the numbers, right? 32% inflation. You have a situation where essentials like bread and insulin are scarce, not available in many cases, or very expensive. You have a currency that has fallen to more than a year's low by now. Unemployment is high. The economy shrank 4% last year. We're expecting it to shrink about 6% this year. So I would say a fair assessment.
Interesting. Now, as you mentioned in your story, Iran says it's ramped up its uranium production. It previously said that it's prepared to exceed the limit to which it can produce uranium as outlined under the 2015 nuclear deal, and that would go against what the European Union has been calling for, and that's for Iran to stick to the deal even though the US has pulled out. Do you think Iran might risk losing Europe's support?
They're definitely treading a very fine line here. So as we've seen, Iranian officials have been quoted as saying that they have quadrupled the volume that they're producing, but they're insisting that the enrichment level has not breached that 3.67% limit. Also, the production of heavy water, they say, is because purchases from Oman have been blocked. The heavy water is needed to be able to cool down reactors for different power stations. So really, right now, it seems that Iran is using that to push other parties to stick to the deal or come back to the negotiating table. But of course, it's a very fine line, and any measures, as we've heard from various European leaders, could end up pushing Iran outside of this, and really coming back from that would be very difficult, perhaps even more so.
You also mentioned oil prices in your story. So what effect on crude might these rising tensions have?
Look, we've seen prices going up, and it's happening in a very, it's really complicating the outlook in the sense that many economies are shrinking or slowing down. Demand is not really rising, and yet prices are. And then also many of the countries that have been affected by this, Turkey being one of them, but certainly not the only one. We've seen many Asian countries that rely on supplies from Iran they will not be very simply be able to turn around and start buying from other countries. Many of these countries have refineries that are fitted with to be able to work on a certain kind of grade of oil. So really this is going to be really complicating the scenario for the future, and even if we have a quick resolution, that could again produce some kind of a glut in the market.
Okay, Mobin Nasir, always good to get your thoughts. Thanks again.